welcome back to another episode of the DMA's Untamed Podcast, Unapologetic 2.0. And we have two other ladies, of course. We are celebrating International Women's Day. So we have an all women's cast back to back. And this episode, we have two very lovely ladies who are, I would say, the heads or the necks of the DMAs, and I'll let them introduce themselves, starting with Dr.
All right, cool. So my name is Dr. Catherine Kibuchi, Secretary General of the Digital Media Awards and the Business Unit Head, Densu Creative, Kenya. It's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to an amazing conversation, and let's untame this industry.
Yes. All right. Go off.
Good, is it afternoon, evening, wherever you are. This is Mudhoni. I'm the president of DMAs, and I don't have something cool to say. There has to be something cool to say all the time, but I don't have it. Yeah. Okay, let's do this.
Allowed. Okay. So two very powerful women. Okay. We have the Secretary General and we have the President. So these are women who literally have the back and literally lead the DMAs, if you could put it like that. So I'll start here. I came for the DMAs, the very first DMAs I've ever attended last year, and it was an amazing experience. So first things first, I'd like to know what exactly it takes for two women who are the necks and the heads and the back of the DMAs to come up with a concept A, like the DMAs. Two, how you put all that together in God knows how long. You can let me know about that as well. So walk me through the process of, as women in the industry, how exactly did you execute, or how exactly do you execute such great awards? And in what timelines do you have? Is it always urgent as well?
Oh. Okay, let me try this. So the DMAs really, I don't know how to answer that question without trying to explain why DMAs. So DMAs really started out of a need where we saw that there was people in the creative industry, especially in digital, who were doing exceptional things, and there was really no platform in Kenya at that point that was celebrating them. Maybe we were not knowledgeable at that point. That was like 9 years ago. And Rita and I sat down and were like, okay, let's find a partner who can do this, someone who's doing something to do with the creatives. And we couldn't get someone who was ideal for what we were trying to get. Our responsibility was to celebrate excellence and also demand excellence from the industry, because we had an industry that digital was just still starting out, and there was a need for somebody to recognize when people make their leaps, especially in this side of the Sahara. So what it takes to organize it, it's crazy. Kate can tell you that. At the beginning, we literally were doing it as a very tight team, Rita, I, and possibly to other people. So last year, we finally had a committee that is chaired by Brian Jaggi and the Secretary General, Dr. Catherine Kibuchi. Maybe she can tell us what Secretary General
Please
is.
do.
All right, cool. So as a Secretary General, it's like Kofi Annan of the UN Assembly. So our committee is strong. It has different personalities. It has people with different strength. So my role as the SG this year is to ensure that every moving piece of the DMA comes together. Apart from the chair leading, the discussions, what are the other external moving pieces that are working around to make DMA a success, and past our meetings. So it's kind of putting the puzzles together and making sure that every person or a country is doing what they're expected to do to make sure that the DMA, the 9th edition, is going to be a success moving into the 10th year. So that is basically my role in the DMAs.
I love it. All right. So you mentioned that you and another lady came together and you thought, how exactly are we bringing creatives excellence to light in Sub-Sahara, in Eastern and Western Eastern Africa, I'm assuming at this point?
Yes, it is.
from what I'm understanding is it's a heavily led, or in the beginning was a very heavily led women
Initiative.
initiative team, which is so lovely to hear. So my question is, how exactly have you been able to showcase women empowerment or showcase women in the industry at the DMA specifically, and even in your own different industries away from the DMAs? How have you been able to ensure that you are empowering women in their own facets of, let's say, different categories, if it's in the creative field, if it's in the design field, if it's in the influence field? How exactly do you bring them or empower them?
Okay, DMA gives equal opportunity to everyone. So it's difficult to pinpoint like women exactly like category of sorts. But because of that opportunity, now we see women shining. So we had Olive, who is our first woman copywriter of the year. And I believe the platform has allowed for her skill set to be seen. Yeah. And this has happened to many other women, like the brand manager of the year was also a woman and all. So we've not per se created a category that's very woman specific, but we expect with this opportunity that women also shine through the activities they do within their agencies or the brands which are represented within DMAs.
Okay, lovely.
Yeah. So I'll speak from a DMA perspective and also speak from an agency perspective. So from a DMA perspective, it's an equal playing field. And what we are doing is ensuring that it's not like male skewed, as we said in the beginning. The industry has been very male skewed, but now we are seeing more women now warming up, submitting. We have seen also more women coming into the creative space. That also opens up opportunities for them to be heard, to be seen, to be appreciated, which is amazing to see in this lifetime.
Yeah.
From an industry perspective, as a BUH and in my current role, I feel like I'm a mom to a lot of kids.
Yes.
So my team actually has about 51 employees.
Wow.
And I was just looking through it the other day, and I discovered that out of the 51 employees, I have about 32 who are women from the creative space. And that was so inspiring to see. But what I do in a personal level is to ensure that everyone is heard. One, I understand, as I said, it's like I'm a mom. So I take time to understand who my daughters are, for lack of a better word, who my team is, what are their strengths, how are they feeling uncomfortable, are they okay in terms of what they're doing, and also leading by example, both career-wise and on a personal life, because sometimes beyond the work walls, there's life out there.
Yeah.
And you can't assume and turn your head and say, you know what, this is the office, that's it. But just understanding and knowing beyond this particular position, how does your career look like moving forward? Are you feeling stuck? And how do I open your career mapping to ensure that you get to the next level that you need to be? Because I believe that we raise in raising others. And gatekeeping is something that I have seen in this industry, especially some women, not to mention names, really gatekeep other women from getting into these positions of power, which I think is very colonial.
Yeah.
And working with the other women, even the junior women, even in recruitment phases, looking at someone and actually believing in their potential is quite something that we need to, as women in the industry, start embracing, right?
Yeah.
So identifying young talent as women, young women and their talent, mentoring them and giving them opportunities to shine, I think is something that women in this industry, in leadership roles, should start doing more. And, making them their stars to shine. Because when we all shine, the sun shines brighter, right?
Yeah.
So,
Big fact. Yeah. All right. So you
Just
both...
another point.
Yeah, go ahead.
Looking at the DMA judging panel and looking at the committee, we have equal representation. That's the other thing we made that was very intentional, to make sure that the women who are part of the industry participate in it. So I believe that's another way that we are ensuring that we are part of this.
Yeah. All right. So being in the industry, both of you have been in the industry longer than I have been, longer than our previous ladies on the unapologetic episode were or have been in the industry. And we have talked about how now is when we're kind of seeing women kind of being praised in the industry a little bit more. Would you be able to tell us, like, what are some of the things that you're seeing women thriving in right now that you could never have imagined back in the day? Like, what do you think has changed so drastically, and how do you feel like you've also made an impact for the women who are coming up? Saying as you see us like your little children, and for sure I know that you have impacted our lives in very many different ways. For you as well, definitely giving us an opportunity, both of you actually, giving us an opportunity to showcase our work as well. So as our mummies. What can you tell us? Tuambia, we walked with no shoes. What is your "we walked with no shoes" story. As women's story?
I think just as the title of the episode is unapologetic, I think being unapologetic in who you are and being unapologetic in the skill set that you hold has really opened up doors. And it has not been easy. Most people say there's nothing special about them.
Yeah.
But it's just harnessing that power and believing in yourself. As a woman, especially in leadership and in creative space, there's a lot of imposter syndrome. Yeah, there's a lot of it actually, and I won't lie. Sometimes you look back and say, did I do the right thing? Was it the right strategy to push forward to client? Did I respond to client the correct way? There's a lot of imposter syndrome. But being able to overcome that and be very unapologetic and working in that male-dominated space and stamping your authority, as they say, you're like, as I was saying, please don't interrupt me.
Yes.
Let me finish my thinking part, and then you can talk. And that has actually happened in a lot of boardrooms where people feel that they can talk over you, and most women just cull back and don't own the space. I mean, feeling like, owning that space, giving that authority, commanding that audience that they need to listen to you is something that I think we have bulldozed over the years to get where we are. Unfortunately, it was not handed to us on a golden platter. But we have been able to do that. And the more women learn that they need to occupy the room, they need to be unapologetic about who they are, about what their skills are, the more we are actually going to own and dominate this space. And I think what have cropped up is a generation of very unapologetic women, and women who are not scared to do or say or take up that corner office. Yeah. And I feel that has really propelled the industry to where it is today.
Love it. All right.
I think mine is very different because my creative industry is more industrial design. That's basically what I studied and where I've indulged in. I think I had a very, very good boss when I started. I was this young girl, 2004, 2005. I'm pretty old, Don't count. But at that point, I think the lady it was actually a lady who oriented me to that job. And here I was in the university, struggling to finish my 4th year, and my boss comes and tells me, the person who oriented you, I did it as an intern first. The person who came and oriented you as an intern has left, and we want you to come and take up that position. You can imagine where my brain was like, I've not finished school. I'm not sure this is a position for me. But I had the strength to tell him, wait, let me first finish my schooling. And when I went to the market, my mother was my best advocate. She told me, okay, whatever you don't know, come, we figure it out. Because you could never ask your boss. How do you go and ask your boss how you should do your work? You're supposed to just go there and you know how to do your work. Nobody expected us at that point, even if you're an intern or just started work, not to know.
Yeah.
So I used to go home and figure it out with my mom most of the time. If not with her, I try to, go through emails that the previous person before me would write out to clients. Worse yet, I was dealing with international clients. So here it was difficult. Computer was like, oh my God. You're over there, you're like, oh my God. There's no other way to talk to them but on a computer. So you're over here, they're struggling to write an email. You're struggling to do everything. and you're expected to do your best. But for me, it taught me a lot of responsibility at a very young age, because now here you are, your boss doesn't know what you're doing, so they can't teach you anyway. He won't teach you, but he knows you must be able to do what you're doing.
Yeah.
You've just had 2 months of training, when you are a student third year. So now you've come back fourth year, you finished, and here you're trying to do the job. But the faith that people had in other people, once you're given a responsibility, you can't even mess it up. You can't mess it up. And that is what drove me at that point. It drove me to be better, because I was like, hey, I can't mess this up. So the next job I took, I couldn't mess it up also. I didn't even know what I was doing. I went to an interior company. I have never studied interior design. I did a little bit of it in my undergraduate, like first year, second year. But I was a product designer by profession.
Yeah.
But it was a highly interior design kind of industry. And I had to learn very fast. So what I came to discover, as a woman, we have that innate ability to learn very fast on our feet. And if we can take advantage of that, and sometimes even take those roles you're asked, can you do this, that, and you're just like a 20%, men go for it, even when they are on that 20%. As we look and we're like, man, I have only 80. These guys won't take me. I don't have 20. If you can believe in that 20% that you have, and just go for it and learn on the job, I think that would be golden. Because I believe that's what men have, that courage to take up roles.
Audacity,
yes, right word.
Audacity.
The audacity to just pick up something that they don't know and run with it. And unfortunately or fortunately for me, that was what I was forced into. I didn't have the audacity. I was just struggling, but I was like, I can't let someone down. So I was working from the point of, I can't let someone down, not because I had that audacity.
Yeah.
But right now, I think that's what we need to have.
Would you say the audacity?
Yes.
Would you guys say that's how women will break ceilings? Like, that's where the breaking of the glass ceiling starts. Having the audacity. You step in there.
I agree,
And you're just like, hini yangu. We're running with it and we're going with it.
Yeah, you walk into the room with your with your presentation, and you're like, guys, this is my thinking.
Yeah.
The audacity.
The
Even though it's
audacity.
not complete. Okay, I'm not saying you don't complete
Your work,
but don't back down of a session or a presentation or an award because you think that your work is not complete. Go in there, pitch it to your best of ability, and the best you can do is try and have the audacity. Yeah.
The worst they can do is say no. But at least you tried.
That's awesome. Because I normally always think, and I even request people, what's the worst that could happen if you present yourself? Can you deal with the worst that could happen? Not doing it is even worse, because you don't know the outcome, And I'm one of those curious people. I hate not knowing the outcome of something that I'm interested in. So you'd rather get a rejection than not know. And we need to grow that thick skin of taking rejection. Rejection doesn't mean you're bad, yet again, because sometimes we don't want to present ourselves because we don't want to be rejected. I think something with creativity, you put in so much of your heart and soul until rejection is like, wow, I feel like you're crushing me.
Yeah.
Because all that creativity has a bit of you, So now coming into an industry where you have to put yourself out every single day and even try to rise up there by putting yourself out there. Whoa.
It's hard. Yeah.
It's hard.
And also one thing I think I have seen and noticed over the years is there's many opportunities that are now opening up for younger women in the creative space that we of our age, please don't count as well, we of our age never got to experience.
Yeah.
And one of, I think, my roles and the roles that DMA is really trying to take up is how do we encourage young women to actually take up these spaces? Because then that is where they start to understand their potential and understanding and growing that thick skin, because these opportunities are actually there. Sometimes I wish I would change my ID to go a few years back, so I can be able to grab these opportunities. But unfortunately, if they look at me and look at my ID, they'll be like,
"Hey, madam,
you are pushing it. You are pushing it." But there's so much opportunity right now for young creatives, young women actually in creative, and actually women in creative below the age of 35. And I really encourage, and maybe guys who work with me know that I really actually encourage people. If you don't know what you're doing, come to me. We will write this proposal together. Because if I was only
small age
like this, guys, I would be in every program in this continent that has people under 30. So taking those advantages of those opportunities are now coming up, I think is also something that would really help women to grow this thick skin, because they start experiencing what pitch opportunities look like at a very young age.
Facts.
So
would you say? I mean, you both said, and also our previous guest, Nassal and Olive, kept saying how the industry has been male dominated, right? Mainly for the creative space. But it's a perception I think people have, and maybe it is the truth at this point, that marketing is very female dominated at the moment. Maybe it's in different spaces, because I mean there are different departments. There's a creative department, CS department, etc. But would you say right now in the 21st century, would you say the marketing industry is being dominated more by women than it is by men?
Okay. Do I answer also the creative?
Yes.
So for creativity, I believe during our time, chose to have children at I think that's something that has changed. People are not willing to have children, but I don't judge.
We listen,
but,
we don't
listen, we don't judge. But imagine having baby number 1, number 2, number 3. Every period cuts you off industry for X number of years.
Yes.
Some people it's a year for the ones who are mild, 2 years, 4, 5, 6, it depends.
Giving football team.
Yes, and this industry is very high pressure.
Yeah.
So imagine you're a young mom and you have to deliver on briefs that most of the time we only knew the studio. Like, honestly, even when in campus, you're like, hey, we just sleep in the studio. After the chips people for Nudge Me knew that we are the guys who will get there at midnight, 1 o'clock. When people are leaving the rave and they're going to get their chips, we are there not because we're in a rave, but because we're in the studio. So you're leaving the studio, you go, eat, and come back. But you understand, it has been ingrained in a creative that you have to work late. Now imagine you're a mom with a little baby. So you fall really back in the industry, and many of them even choose not to continue because you're like, this is not sustainable. So for the creative bit, I understand why it ends up being more male-driven, because there's that aspect of a woman that sort of renders you null and void by the time you're getting there. Like,
because of your 6 children.
My 6 children. How am I going to stay in studio till midnight, 1 o'clock? I have things to finish, and the demands of agency. But on the marketing bit, someone said it so well, like 3 days ago. She says, I don't want to be in creative. I'm currently in client service. My clients go home at 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock. So what am I doing here? So I understand. It becomes like what do you call it? It's how the industry is. Now it's more favorable to a woman in that way. So being part of client service, marketing, all that, you find women finding that easier for their lifestyle, considering that they want to be a mom, they want to be someone's girlfriend or boyfriend. Whatever they want to be, whatever your preference is, you want to do so many other things that women want to do, and you still have to thrive in the industry. And I believe it's just the trade.
It's the trade.
It's the trade that allows it to be like that.
Yeah.
It is what it is.
See, for me, I can disagree about the marketing element. And the reason why I'm saying I can disagree is because I came from corporate before coming to agency life. And there was this perception, let me tell you, it's still in the 21st century, imagine, like 2010-ish there, 2009 there about. The guys would be like, it's only women who do marketing.
Yeah.
Even without qualifications, they'll be like, huyo mchukue afanye marketing. And that them days, marketing was not the strategy and everything. Even BA, brand ambassador in a supermarket, was marketing.
Oh, yeah.
So it was like, huyo ni ya tusichana. Those are for girls.
Yeah.
Those are for women, not men. Men are not allowed to do that. So you men go do the accounting.
Yeah.
But the women are the ones, because they're pretty and everything, so they can be able to market. Because previously, there was a very thin line between sales and marketing.
Yeah.
Right? Most of these departments were conjoined in a way. And I feel like it was just by, it's a woman's job. You know how guys say like nursing and everything? I think there was that stereotype of marketing is a woman's job.
Yeah.
Hiyo ni kazi ya madem. Because I even remember my first job, which was, I don't know if I should mention the name, but it was a hospitality space. The marketing office had 7 women. 7 women. I'm telling you, our director, they started breaking ceilings. Our marketing director was a woman. And I kid you not, she could not hire a man.
Wow.
She was like, no, he does not bring the demeanor. Really?
Oh, you have some finesse that women have.
That have, that you need to go and talk and convince people and, massage their egos.
Yes.
Which is something that apparently marketing has to come with.
Yeah.
Was something that for them, I think during then, I think it's a stereotype that came and it just continued and continued. And this is where we are, because they've become so good at it.
Yeah.
It's not because they kind of wanted it, but it's because they became too good at it because they were placed there.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I kind of agree, because women do have that finesse.
Yeah.
And I think that's how we get away with so many things. Unpopular opinion. I'm not sure if I should bring this up, but I'm going to do it because we're being unapologetic. We clash heads a lot. A lot, right? With clients, with each other in the office. Maybe it's because there's not enough testosterone in the environment or too little. What do you think of having too many women in one environment? I mean, we're great for each other. We support each other. In the previous episode, we were talking about how we come together and just cry and, feed each other, etc. But unpopular opinion. Do you think to some extent it gets toxic?
Honestly? Yeah, and I was also supposed to answer a question that Mudhoni said about guys staying out late. I'm not saying it necessarily become toxic knowingly. It's because there is that need to prove that, why, as the previous panel was saying, sometimes you change your voice to become bass.
Yeah.
Because then you're like, why are you not listening to me? Is it because I'm a woman? If your boss was a man, would you behave the way you're behaving?
Yeah.
So I think it's the need that someone feels that I need to stamp my authority. And they just feel that they want to be raggedy. And the lack of that grace that people actually need to accord. Because shouting at people or being what do you call it?
A-hole.
For lack of a better word, but being very anal about some circumstances is just showing how insecure you are. But I think when women start understanding their power, when they start understanding that leadership is not all about shouting and making people work until like 1 a.m. in the morning, actually leadership is about having a well-balanced team, guys who have mental wellness, guys who are able to comfortably say, hey, boss lady, today I can't come to work because my baby has a cough, and not feeling like you have to rush to work and then rush back home to take care of the kid. It's something that I think people should start embracing. That working long hours, being anal about people, EOD submissions and all this is not what makes you a good leader.
Yeah. I love that you backed that up with now how do we make it better? Which is exactly that. Like immediately we start uplifting each other as women, I think is when we're going to grow so much more in the industry, even in other industries, as women together. Like, guys, Wonder Woman did this thing, they had a whole island full of women and they were dominating so heavily. So, I mean, I appreciate that. That is a factor. We can talk about it as well and also bring up solutions for the same. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the same as well.
What was the question?
Wow. You feel like in environments with many women becomes a little toxic.
You know, I'm so in.
We're almost wrapped up. Okay.
I was so into what she was saying until I was like, was I talking? You know, like what? Anyway, yeah. For me, no. There are seasons. I actually prefer, like right now, I'm in the season of I just want women.
Yeah.
Yeah, in my team. Not because of anything. There's a vibe that I get when I have women around me. Because, I don't know. I'm trying to get the right word.
Wonder Woman vibes.
Yeah. When women are in your team, there's something. They go an extra mile. I don't know. I feel that.
And the maternal thing.
Yes, and they have that dedication that I'm not saying that men don't have, but there's something I feel in me that when I'm surrounded by women. So believe it or not, I actually love women teams very, very much. I do not dislike men team. I do not dislike men teams. But I love women team.
Yeah, the producer is shaking his head. He's like,
yeah.
Push this camera off and go.
No, actually, very many of my friends are men. Yeah, I understand them fully very well. Yeah, but I prefer women teams at certain stances. Yeah. And I think for me, mostly, maybe it's a season in my life or what, but yeah, I do really, because I have a company that is male dominated.
Yeah.
It's also a creative business and it has very, very, very many men. And in that particular company, I think we are 2 women. We're actually 2. And the men are like 13, 14.
Wow.
So it's actually men. Yeah. Very many men. So maybe that's what I feel. I feel like, hey, I need to have an all-girls team. So at least I can feel like we're, we are vibing. Yeah. They support girl power. I don't know if that's it, but I don't think it's meant to be toxic.
Yeah.
That they are women together. I believe if people understand each other and understand their roles and don't try to discount your work because you're a woman, not trying to get favors all the time because you say you're a mom, you can't yet again never come to work because you're like, oh, today my child is sick, tomorrow my child is sick, the day after that, my child is still sick. Yeah. You've pushed it, because yet again, you need to show that you're also present in the company.
Sure.
But with that, honestly, I don't have a problem with all girl teams. I do really love all girl teams. Yeah.
Wonder Woman and her whole team. What was that island called? Do any of you know what that island was called? Anyway, to wrap it up, I think we're having a very great discussion, but we got to wrap this up. What do you feel is the future of women in the industry? Should we uplift each other? Give us the little bits that you want women to take away from this during International Women's Month. Also, what do you have in store for us, if you have anything?
Okay. Yeah, I wanted to start the room a little bit, but
go off.
It's okay, I'll just talk.
Please
I will give a good parting shot. However, before we go to the conclusion, there's comments that I've had, honestly, being thrown around in boardrooms and in spaces. Guys are like, the caliber of marketing managers nowadays has really, really dropped.
Hey.
In terms of how they brief, they don't understand their brands, they don't know what strategy is. So I'm saying, I've had guys say that, and they're like using very demeaning words. I have had, and I think this also comes back to how also women are taking up these leadership roles. Yes, you can get into that leadership role as a woman. You can become marketing director, or you can become CDMO of a company. But how you carry yourself and how do you understand your brand in terms of professionalism, in terms of upskilling yourself to become, also an industry leader, I think is something that women should take very intentionally. Not, taking aback and just saying, you know what, I am here and that's right about it. Because the market is watching.
Yeah.
The men are watching. The young women are also watching. And you have to lead by example. And that's why I say be unapologetic about who you are. And the only way you can do that is know your craft. If you don't understand your craft, then people are going to walk over you.
Yeah.
So also trying to upskill yourself as an individual, I think is quite important, and understanding all the facets of the business. And also as you walk into a room, you own everything. Like you understand why the wall looks the way it looks. I think it's something that is also important to call out.
Yeah.
Because I feel like guys get into a certain position, or ladies get into a certain position and they become a bit complacent. Yeah. So it's taking that initiative to be really good at your craft, I think is quite important.
Yeah.
Also, pro women, but to some be
proactive.
Be proactive.
Yes.
Be proactive in that specific field, because what happens is it trickles down. If you are incompetent or you become complacent, I'm not saying that you don't deserve to be there, but when you become complacent, what happens is the industry will feel it, because then your impact is not felt.
Yeah.
And they push back, and when they push back, you're like, they hate me because I'm a woman.
Yeah.
But sometimes we need to break out of the shell of being a woman and say we are on an equal playing field.
Yeah.
So how do I become better at what I'm currently doing in my craft?
Sure.
Yeah, so that was before the last question. I felt ilikuwa niseme initoke na imenitoka. Amen. Imenitoka hiyo.
So good.
Sasa hiyo imenitoka. Ati swali ilikuwa gani? How do we
actually technically answered it? You've technically answered the question.
Yes, you have.
You have. Because it was how, what do you see the future of women in the industry being? Where are we as women?
Yeah.
Where are we going? What is the future for us, even in the leadership roles? So you've answered it, by the way.
You've answered it.
Kwa hiyo kusema initoke
cutting short kabisa, unless you want to proceed.
I'm so glad she said it all. So I can say asante. I can give tea now. No, but speaking of that tea, I think maybe it's asserting yourself in whatever space you are. The tea story is very important, because I think I was listening into some women talking. Oh yeah, that was for Zuri. There's somebody who said, you don't go to the boardroom and start serving people tea, asking them, do you want mandazi? Things like that. Own the space where you are. And you have to live up to that space, as Kate has said. Because if you don't live up to the space, you will be told to get the tea.
Get the
tea, because there's nothing much you're contributing into the room, and we are not ready to get anyone's tea. We are ready to be the ones who are being served the tea in the boardroom, because now we are seated and we are peers, or we are at the head of the table in the boardroom. So I believe it's up to women to stop identifying just as women, but as powerful people. People not necessarily being a woman, a man, whatever,
an individual,
but as an individual, so that people can appreciate what you bring to the table.
Yeah.
So regardless of where you are, you must be the best at what you're doing, unfortunately, so that they have to listen to you, because they have no option. Wow. Yeah. And you're the only one who knows. So wow, guys, do you want to do this, or listen to me? They have to listen to you. And for me, there's been so many circumstances that I've had to do that. I've complained to her. I'm like, man, why are they not? But I'm like, for lack of better words, I have to do it. Like, it's not aggression, but I have to do it. So even if you show me that really we're in our club, please chill, and then let us finish, then you come. I don't know how to deal with that. I just put my face there, and you have no choice but to deal with me. So I've done that repeatedly.
Yeah.
And I've gotten very good at it. So I'm on people's faces where I need to be. Yeah. I try my best not to be the loudest in the room.
Yeah.
Because when you're the loudest in the room, yet again, you get unnecessary attention, which I don't like attention at all. But just be able to have the right words to say for the right circumstance and know your thing.
Yeah.
Just know it. So that no one can doubt what you've said, because you actually do know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. On that point, don't get the tea. Be the one who's being served the tea, honey. This has been DMA Unapologetic. DMA Untamed Unapologetic Edition 2.0. Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Hey, well, my mama